Second Floor Sports.
Second Floor Sports.
Matias Weilmann, Ben
I'm
Carlton.
Matias Weilmann and Ben Carlton.
You're both of us?
I'm everybody today.
Oh, man, your coffee is really getting to you early, huh?
Actually, I made sure not to drink like right before the show because last time we did a Thursday show, I was like way too caffeinated and it was like vibrating on camera. It was cool.
Well, it wasn't even just the Thursday show. It was when we did the show on Tuesday. You were just like the first hour, everything was great. And then the second hour, I don't know what got into you.
Well, it wasn't even the whole second hour. It was just like that one. I just like somewhere in my mind, I was like, yeah, the Heat and Pacers played 7 games.
That was like not a competitive 4-game series.
Hey, man,
Like,
you're telling me you've never had a moment where you just said something and immediately were like, what on earth am I talking about?
I mean, coming from the guy
Never, not once.
Coming from the guy that said Gamecock instead of Game Clock in a football game.
That's a
live
very good
on
point.
air.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you knew exactly what you're talking about there, though. I mean, that's a little different. That's more just like a slip of the tongue than it is.
Well, how many
completely
times?
wrong.
How many times have we been calling a game and like not just me, like either one of us will just like say something and then look at each other and just be like, I don't know. I don't know. I just said.
Man. Scooch.
The Second Floor Sports recording at 1 p.m. on September 24th. We got NFL to talk about. We got NBA. First off, we're on Google. We're on Google Podcasts now. So
we're also on Apple Podcasts, which
Yeah.
was news to me. Literally, when you posted it on the show Instagram, I was like, oh, cool.
Oh,
we're on Apple Podcasts now.
Good to hear. If you're following us on Spotify, listen to us on Spotify, give us a follow. If you're listening to us on Apple Pod, Google Pod, wherever you get them, give us a follow. Give us 5 stars. Let us know what you think. Or if you're watching us on YouTube or on Instagram Live right now, where we are. Thanks for tuning in.
We got
Ben,
three Burgess Boolers in the live stream right now. Love to see it.
we got a whole 3 listeners. We broke like double digits listeners last podcast.
Podcast. I thought you meant on the live stream. I think we've hit like 8 before on the live.
But we've had like a consistent 8 before. It's a
Consistent 8.
Slow climb.
Nice. All right. Well,
Ben,
let's get right into.
No, I know you want to talk about it, so I'll just give the floor to you. I know you're a big fan.
Oh my God.
And we just get an absolute bar burner tonight.
Look, I'm not personally involved with the NFL schedule making process. That's not really my area of expertise personally. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that like I know every little detail that goes into scheduling a full NFL season. It's really hard. I'm sure it's quite difficult. You've got multi-purpose venues. You don't know who's going to be playing where, especially in this COVID season. Like you don't know when a game's going to get canceled. There's a lot to take into account here. That said, who in the NFL scheduling office was like, all right, guys, we've got a primetime game, a Thursday night football slot, week 3. Who do we want to put in? And someone was like, Jags Dolphins. And no one said maybe we shouldn't make that a primetime game? Not one person? Like how?
Well,
this is a valuable slot for the NFL. It is the only NFL game on today. And the league was like, you know what? Jags Dolphins. That's exactly who we want to play in primetime. We want to showcase the Jags and the Dolphins. 2 teams just known for their recent level of success and high caliber football. Like this is why I say I hate Thursday night football. In what world do you say, all right, let's make Jags Dolphins a primetime game? Hide that in the 1:00 slate and let like these people in Florida watch it. I don't want to watch Jags Dolphins. I literally will not be watching the game tonight. I'm watching the Lake. I'm like,
yeah, it's easily gonna be my second screen.
It's not even gonna be my second screen. I'm not gonna have it on.
I'm
not watching it.
It's weird because like the NFL and ESPN have had like kind of some beef before. So if they want to schedule a shitty game for Monday Night Football, which has happened before. They could do that, but this is on NFL Network. Like this is the NFL's network. Like they should schedule good games, and they just constantly give us AFC South matchups.
It's like literally outside of Florida, who cares about Jags Dolphins?
I guess the thought must have been like, and like it wouldn't have been that much better, but it was like, all right, if Tua Tagovailoa is starting at that point, like. Could be exciting matchup between 2
even obviously you schedule this like ahead of time, but like even in like the most optimistic scenarios, like who expected either the Jags or the Dolphins to be like good/relevant?
I mean, the Jags could have been 2-0, but they're also lucky to be 1-1. Like they're not a good team, and this is not going to be a good game. in the comments. Nolan's putting smash the over. I don't know what it is.
I don't even know. We'll get into our best bets. I don't think
that's not on our best bets. But both these teams are in the bottom 7 in passing. I wonder when Tua's going to take over. I would assume in the
sooner
coming
weeks. Before week 7. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know what their schedule looks like, but it's not like Fitzpatrick's
what do they have
playing
to lose?
lights out.
Like,
no, they have a lot of football games to lose.
Look, if you want, point being, like, why not play Tua?
Well, then
unless you just want Fitzpatrick to like beat the Pats again, which is always entertaining.
Well, we've seen the last, it wouldn't be the first time we've seen a rookie quarterback or a high draft pick get thrown into the fire too early and kind of just absolutely sap his confidence.
I don't know if there's a
Josh Rosen. Look at Josh Rosen, for example. Josh Rosen had a terrible offense, a terrible team around him. They got destroyed, and they got the number 1 overall pick, and he was shit. And they
I feel like you'd still rather play the rookie than let a 39-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick play.
All I'm saying is there's a reason that if Tyrod Taylor didn't have his lungs punctured by his own fucking doctor, Herbert would not have played in week.
As funny as that is, I was doing some reading about that. Like, that is like a very reasonable risk of that procedure. Again, I'm not a doctor. Matias isn't a doctor. It's pretty embarrassing. It's still pretty funny. But, that is actually I
don't know if I'd call it funny, honestly. That's just, really concerning.
Funny because he's okay. If he was, in the hospital, it would be a lot more concerning. But,
the Chargers have also had some history with just, their doctors messing thing up. I think his name is David Chow. He's now, a contributor to Outkick the Coverage. So make of that what you will.
Yeah.
But,
Outkick the Coverage fans here.
He was cleared of any, malpractice, but, he got sued by the Players Association. It wasn't him. He got fired in, 2013, but they have a history of this. Weird. All I'm saying with these young rookie quarterbacks is Herbert would not have started week 2 if Tyrod Taylor was healthy, right? Josh Rosen shouldn't have started that early. They don't start rookie quarterbacks.
But also, at least the Chargers can say if you're the Chargers though, you can say just to put yourself in the Chargers coaching staff's state of mind. You've got a really good defense, and if you say, all right, we've got an extra wild card spot this year, maybe we can squeak in at 8-8. Then that's good. That's a good reason to start Tyrod Taylor. You say, all right, we don't know what we have in Justin Herbert just yet. Chargers offense isn't bad. It's not great, but they've got some good pieces. You say, all right, we trust Tyrod to do just enough to win us games and see if we can squeak into the playoffs at 8-8 or 9-7.
Mm-hmm.
The Dolphins are an entirely different scenario. The Dolphins aren't sniffing the playoffs this year.
Absolutely.
Play Tua.
I can see why that would kind of push you to be more aggressive, but also could kind of cause you to reel it back in. I don't want to talk about this game anymore.
Well, actually, no. You need to ask this one question you put on the rundown.
I put this question in just to reel you in. I hope you know that. It was purely
it worked
to reel you in. It worked because here we are.
I just want you to say it so we can clip it and turn this in, just completely twist the context and make you look like an idiot.
The question is, how well does Gardner Minshew have to play to start thinking about not drafting Trevor Lawrence number 1 overall? Because there is a certain level that he can play at that they won't get the number 1 overall pick, and there's no way that Trevor Lawrence doesn't go number 1 overall.
No shot, yeah.
But how well does he have to play? Because it's no question, and it's not a secret that the Jags were trying to fire sale their whole team and get the number 1 overall pick.
I mean, if Gardner Minshew plays well enough that they're not the number 1 pick, or at least not top 3 or 4, because presumably you could try to trade for the number 1 if you're that close. But it's just there's no world in which Gardner Minshew wins the starting spot and wins enough games to not have the Jags draft Trevor Lawrence if they can.
Hell, I mean, I think one of the New York teams might end up with the number 1 pick.
Very possible. Very possible.
Possible/probable at this point, honestly.
I'd put the Jets as more likely to.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk plenty of Giants Jets.
Yeah, I'm done talking about Thursday night.
We have a really interesting slate of games.
Interesting's a nice word for it.
Yeah, well, because there are some really good games, and then there's some games that are just shit.
It's good games, but they're weird games. It's not games that you look at and immediately you're like, oh my god, that's a classic. Top of the rundown, Rams Bills is not a game I look at and I'm like, oh. A Rams-Bills game? That's a classic. I got to watch that. But
it doesn't have to be a classic. That's going to be a good-ass game.
That should be a really good game. I mean, there's been so much noise about the Bills from last season, not necessarily being good, but just being better than bad, which is what they were for a while. this is a chance for Josh Allen and the Bills to go out and beat like a classically good team, if you know what I'm saying. Like the Rams are talented. They're returning the same offensive system they had. They've got some really good pieces defensively. Sean McVay is a genius. Like this would be a big win for the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen in particular, who's been lighting it up so far.
I think, what do you think this is a bigger test for? You think it's a bigger test for the Bills or for the Rams?
The Bills, absolutely the Bills. This Rams team's been to a Super Bowl. Like they're beyond like.
But then they missed the playoffs the next year.
And they missed the playoffs, but point being, like, this Rams team has been through the fire, has literally gone up against the Patriots in a Super Bowl. Like, they've seen the best that the NFL has to offer. This is not necessarily a prove-it game for the – I mean, I'm not wrong. Like,
yeah.
I
just wanted to hear you say it.
Brady. Don't get me off topic. The Bills are one of the hottest teams in the league right now. Josh Allen, I was looking at his numbers, just unreal stuff to start the season. 730 yards, 6 touchdowns through the air, no interceptions, which is so huge for Josh Allen. Only 1 rushing touchdown, but that honestly, I like that. Like, I don't necessarily want Josh Allen doing like the bulk of his damage with his legs if I'm a Bills fan.
The concerning thing for him was decision making and ball security, and then accuracy down the field. And he's, played exceptionally well. I mean, he's completing
check so far.
Yeah. I think he had 2 fumbles their opening game against the Jets, which is, a little concerning. He's completing 70%.
One of them was
passes.
like truly boneheaded though, which is like not to excuse it, but it's like, look, I don't think we're going to see Josh Allen trying to like somersault over a defender anytime soon. I think that's one of those plays. Nor should he be trying to. But it's one of those plays where it's like you do it once and then Doug McDermott and the coaching staff on the sideline is going to be like, Josh, if you do that again, like bad. Like
bad, I don't want bad Josh.
Bad. Like that, it's a type of play that's just like so dumb. It's like you almost can't hold it against them because it's just like literally what was he thinking?
Well, again, decision making. The reason I asked who this is a bigger test for, I do think it's still the Bills just because they are closer to being a title contender than the Rams, even if I don't think they are.
They're closer, yeah.
Yeah. The reason I asked it is because, the Rams have played really well the first couple games. And Jared Goff has looked good, and now they get a really big test against a really good pass defense, a really good pass rush, good rush defense. The Bills are a complete defense, one of the top 5 in the league probably. Like,
yeah.
This is a big test for both of them, and there's a reason we made a group that has 3 games in this group. It's called the Prove It games.
Exactly.
One of these teams is going to come out 3-0, and we're going to look at these teams and be like, oh shit, maybe that makes
someone's like. I mean, it's a really interesting situation for both these teams. I mean, the Rams, like you said, were such a disappointment last season after getting to the Super Bowl and then just looking flat. I mean, I think you can chalk a lot of that up to Todd Gurley just taking such a huge decline in his production. I mean, you can't.
I think he was hurt,
even with a knee, but like still, you can't predict that type of just fall off from like literally MVP candidate to like not even a league average running back
to literally getting released after.
Exactly, like. You can't expect that type of decline, and that's really going to fuck up your game plan if you're the Rams. You go into the season, you're like, all right, like we've got not 100% of Todd Gurley, but like a good chunk. You figure you're going to get at least some of that production. You just didn't get anything from Gurley last season.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one. Raiders-Pats. This is a game that before week 2 was probably going to be, Pats by 10. Now it's probably going to be a little closer than people think. Pats are favored by 6 points. We'll talk about this a little better with our best bets, but this is going to be a closer game than people expect.
I mean, look, one of my favorite stats from the Raiders start is John Gruden just got his first ever win against a team that was in the playoffs the previous season, or first ever since he's been with the Raiders. Was it a undermanned Saints team? Yes. Is it week 2? Also yes.
But was it the Saints? Was it
also, Drew Brees at quarterback? Was it going up against Sean Payton and like a very talented Saints team overall? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the Raiders looked good. And I think the most impressive thing was John Gruden didn't get like out of his depth. He came in with the game plan, run the ball, give it to Josh Jacobs, get the ball to Darren Waller, and it worked. And that's not anything like that's not rocket science. Josh Jacobs looks like an animal, second year in the league. And Darren Waller looks like we talked about this, I think, on Tuesday. I think he's the second best tight end in the league right now. There's no reason not to feed him the same way you'd feed a Travis Kelce or a George Kittle.
Mm-hmm. I still think George Kittle's the second best tight end behind Kelce. I keep going back and forth because I think it's going to be a closer game, but there's always the possibility that we're like, oh, this team's riding high on the Patriots. Patriots coming off a loss, and the Patriots come out and just smoke them by like 40. Right?
Everyone saw Belichick wearing his hoodie with like the holes in it.
Yeah, it's got mauled by a bear on his way to
The one
work.
thing, okay, if we can just talk about that sweatshirt for a hot second.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What does Bill Belichick do that he ends up with holes in his sweatshirt?
That's his favorite sweatshirt, man. What are you talking about?
But what does he do to put holes in it?
I don't know. Dude, he was fixing the
Like,
house.
like I assume that's like a quality sweatshirt, like 100% cotton, nice thick material. Like you got to do some damage to that thing to put that many holes in it. Like, what is he? Is he like is he literally burning holes in his sweatshirt? Like, I don't understand it.
Ben, I have no answer for you.
Like, it's not even on like the elbow. It's like it's on like his neck. I'm looking at him like, okay, like it's cool and all. Like, oh, it's Bill Belichick. He's got holes in his sweatshirt. But it's like, what is he doing to put holes in his sweatshirt, bro? I don't understand.
I really wish we could ask and tell him, but I don't know if you saw the press conference from after Sunday Night Football where they were asking him questions and he was just stonewalled, just like, yeah, we didn't convert.
I've never seen Bill Belichick do that before.
But it was so much funnier because it was on Zoom. It was like a 40-second silence. Before we move on to the next game, I think biggest matchup. I think the biggest matchup is Derek Carr versus this Patriots pass defense because the looks that Belichick is going to throw at him on defense, and that's really going to be the big thing. Because Seattle had their way against the Patriots pass defense, which is something we haven't been able to say the last couple of years.
And one thing that I was kind of thinking about matchup wise is like you got to figure Belichick is going to be doubling Darren Waller a bunch, and it's going to be selling out to stop the run. We know that the Patriots' game plan is defensively; it's force you to do something different. Belichick's not going to let your like favorite players, your favorite options, beat him. We've seen the Patriots struggle with like deep threat, speedy wide receivers before. Mm-hmm. Henry Ruggs ran a freaking 4.2. Like, yeah. I could very much see a big Henry Ruggs game coming because I've got to figure they're going to be double teaming Darren Waller, especially on third downs. Figure they're going to be stacking the box. Look at what they did against the Rams in the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's 2 years ago at this point, but 7-man, 8-man front to stop Josh Jacobs. Like, next man up, I think on the Raiders, offensive hierarchy would be Henry Ruggs, even if he's a rookie.
I wouldn't be. I know you disagreed. I wouldn't be surprised to see Gilmore on Waller at some points. I mean, Belichick did it with Ertz last year. He's done it with tight ends in the past. I don't think it'll be the most of the game. It's just going to be, can Derek Carr play clean football?
I think if you're the last point on this, but I think if you're the Raiders, if you need Derek Carr to throw for like 350 and 4 touchdowns, you're not winning this game.
Yeah. I said clean football, not set the world on fire.
No, I'm saying like if he's playing clean and efficient football, not turning the ball over, and the Raiders can lean on Josh Jacobs in the running game, I think they're in a great spot.
Mm-hmm. Last game in our Prove It games, we only have an hour and we got a lot to talk about. Yeah. Texans Steelers, that's another like Prove It game. This is a Texans team that, remind you, they played the two best teams in the NFL weeks 1 and 2. I never saw this stat. The Texans for 6 straight years have played the defending champion opening week. That's brutal.
What?
Yeah.
What are the odds of that?
That's brutal. Like, I get it. You got to beat the best to beat the best.
I've got beef with the NFL scheduling office, man. What the hell is that?
I mean, that's nothing new either. Steelers get a good opportunity here to jump to 3-0 and kind of, solidify themselves as a strong team. The team that we thought they were going to be, if Big Ben could be 50% of what he used to be and the defense is what we think it is, they're going to be a good team.
I'm not quite sold on the Steelers yet. I mean, you beat up a bad Giants team, even though Saquon was still there, obviously. It's like, this is such a weird spot for both of these teams because, like, the Steelers, like you said, have looked really good. Big Ben has not been the issue so far. I'm still very skeptical that he can keep this up for a full 16-game season. Mm-hmm. But if you're the Texans on the other side, it's like, yeah, like you said, you just lost to the Chiefs and the Ravens, literally the two best teams in the league. It's just like you don't want to necessarily be like panicking and saying like, oh my God, we need to fix things. We're 0-2. But it's like you're also 0-2 and you really can't afford to start 0-3. I mean, we've all seen the numbers. Teams that are like 0-3, 0-4, like don't make the playoffs in the NFL. And it's like, it's easy. You'd rather play the Steelers than the Chiefs or the Ravens.
Yeah.
I think this is. What were you going to say?
Yeah. Go say what you were going to say.
This is as close to a must win for the Texans as you can get.
Yeah.
You can't start 0-3.
And they play the Vikings next week, which say what you want about the Vikings. I don't think they're as bad.
They're not as bad as people think, but
they're not a good team. They're not a very good team.
Not to toot my own horn here, but we talked about in our preseason preview, like the Vikings without Stephon Diggs, who I think we both agreed was better than Adam Thielen, is going to be – it's asking a lot of Kirk Cousins. He's more electric. He's a more dangerous wide receiver than
I
Adam
think
Thielen.
Thielen's a more reliable receiver.
More reliable, but I think Stephon Diggs really opened up a lot of those like short to intermediate routes for Thielen to just eat.
Yeah.
And now Thielen's drawing that number one corner. He's the focus of a team's defense. Like he's not seeing the same success. What do you have? 3 catches last week? 4?
I mean, I don't think Thielen has been the big issue though. It's the fact that they didn't get another receiver. Their secondary sucks, and Kirk Cousins sucks. Like I think that's a bigger issue.
Yeah.
Our second like batch of games. We have 4 batches. Second one is we're running out of time games. We have 2 games in here: Bears Falcons at 1 and Titans Vikings at 1. We'll start with Bears Falcons. Bears are 2-0. But yeah, bizarre matchup. Bears are 2-0, a defensively minded team. The Falcons are 0-2, offensively minded team. Like
the Bears are 2-0. With the caveat that DeAndre Swift literally dropped the game-winning touchdown in week 1.
They should be 1-1, and then they almost blew it against the Giants without Saquon.
I'd be pretty concerned if I were the Bears. You are not far away from being – literally, they've come down to 2 plays, making the difference between 0-2 and 2-0.
Yeah, I think the Giants certainly have a shot against the Bears. I just don't know what their offense is going to look like without their – like by far their best offensive threat.
Against the Bears?
I don't know what I was talking about. I got confused with last week. I think the Falcons have a shot. I think the Falcons are probably the favorites in this game.
Yeah, I would say so. I just don't trust – I have no faith in Mitch Trubisky to be able to keep up with the Falcons' offense. None at all. Like the Bears – Trubisky looked really good in the first half against the Giants, and then basically we're like, all right, Giants, you want to make this a competitive second half? Let me play like hot shit for a minute. Like, come on, come at me.
Who's done – someone else is injured for the Giants, the receiver for you.
Sterling Shepard?
Yeah, Sterling Shepard. Yeah, surprise.
And the Giants season's over. Like, at this point, we might as well just start tanking.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Giants in a minute. Low-key is not an unwinnable game anymore, given all the injuries for the Niners. I still would bank on the Giants kind of getting smoked here. But to wrap up our running out of time games, I just think the Falcons have too many weapons for the Bears. Like, the Bears' defense is good, but I think they're still kind of riding, at least in like the court of public opinion, they're still riding high on how dominant their defense was the last 2 years. And it's just, they've taken a step back from like elite game-changing unit to like good defense. And that, if the Bears defense was good as opposed to elite the last 2 years, I don't think they even would have made the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean,
literally got to, 2 years ago, the Bears made the playoffs solely on the strength of their defense.
Yeah. And then they blew it.
And they're not there anymore. They're not at that point.
I mean, the same way we talked about with the Texans, them kind of running out of time. Like you can't start 0-3 and you can cut them some slack or whatever. Titans, Vikings are 0-2. Again, we talked about they haven't been as bad as some of their games indicate. They haven't been good, and it's a Titans game that barely escaped against the Jags. I think this is a classic trap game. I think for the Titans.
I don't even know if you can call it a trap game. I mean, because I'm just thinking
0-2 team that's looked bad. Like
what are you expecting out of the Titans to call this a trap game?
Well, I just think, the Titans.
Listening, Nolan? Are you listening to this?
The Titans got run over by the Jags. They let up like 5 yards a carry or something absurd like that. And if you look at the, strength of this Vikings like offense, the few strengths they have, it's Dalvin Cook. No doubt
obviously.
About it. And then you have someone like Kirk Cousins is best when he's rolling out and he has the play action. You give him those easy throws for him to make. You give him a clean pocket. But that's exactly what you get when you have like a 7-8 man front, which is probably what the Titans are.
It's 2 things for me. For one, I don't know if I'd call it a trap game because I don't think when I think trap game, I think of like a Chiefs team, a Ravens, like an elite team going up against like a team that maybe is not as bad as their record would indicate. I don't think of the Titans as an elite team. I think they're good. Yeah. I think they'll make the playoffs, but I don't at all put them in the same tier as like Chiefs, Ravens. No. I was about to say the Niners, not the Niners anymore.
Yeah. They're done.
I wouldn't call it a trap game. But secondly, this is find me the difference between the Vikings and the Titans. Stylistically, they're the same team. They're looking to do the exact same thing. Yeah. Run the ball with Derrick Henry, run the ball with Dalvin Cook, hit play action shots deep down the field, good defenses. Vikings defense not great anymore. I feel like this game is going to look like selling out of like the 40s.
Yeah, it might.
Like a 10-7 game with like 400 rushing yards.
God, yeah. This is a game I'm not watching. I mean, especially
it'll be fun to watch, I think, but no one's talking about. I wouldn't put them in the same category as the Ravens because the Titans beat them in the playoffs last year.
Let's before we get to our top-notch games, let's kind of get our woke games out of the way. We have Bengals Eagles, which the Eagles should win. Who the hell knows, honestly?
I think the issue is just going to be that the Eagles, as for all the issues that the Eagles have, their defensive line is still so deep and so talented. And we've seen the Bengals, can't run the ball. And if the Bengals need Joe Burrow to throw the ball 60 times again against this Eagles front, he's going to be carted off the field in the stretcher. Like, he's not going to survive this game if they ask him to throw the ball 60 times again. Like, I don't see the Eagles losing this game at all.
Yeah. Second one, Niners-Giants. I think the Niners still win, maybe by field goal, maybe a little more. I think that this is a competitive game because you got to remember the Niners are without their quarterback. They're without their two best DNs. Like, George Kittle probably won't play because they're playing at MetLife again. Like, I don't know.
I just don't see I still think the Giants have anywhere close to like the talent to beat this Niners team, even in a
Niners
close
also
game.
missing Richard Sherman. Like,
they're missing Richard Sherman. Not that really, I don't think that really changes a whole lot. Like, who's Richard Sherman going to lock down on the Giants?
The only options they would have, Slippy Slayton.
Exactly. Like, it's like, it's literally not even worth it for Richard Sherman to like travel with one guy. Cause it's like, okay, cool. You're locking down like,
well, not like he ever has traveled with one guy.
Okay. That's straight salt, but
I mean, it's true.
Oh, but
it's not true. Same.
I just think the Niners still, with that offensive line, it's not like, they lost Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas, but the Niners still have a deep defensive line. It's still good. Like, I'm still taking the Niners in this game out. It might be like close on the scoreboard. I don't think I think if you watch this game, you'll realize that the Niners are going to be clearly the better team.
Mm-hmm. Enough about this crap. Top-notch games. First, we have Seahawks, Cowboys. The day kind of starts out slow. Like, we have a couple of good 1 o'clock games. Slow. We have a good, like, Rams, Bills is at 1, Raiders, Pats at 1, Texans, Steelers at 1, Bears, Falcons, which
what else like, like classic games?
Yeah.
Look at the last 3 games of the NFL slate. Like, literally we go Seahawks, Cowboys.
Yeah, we'll start at 4:25. Seahawks, Cowboys.
Chiefs, Ravens. Like, this is an incredible trio to end the week. Seahawks, Cowboys. When I was writing this up, I was about to I think it'll absolutely be a shootout. I think this is the type of game where if the Cowboys were to win, I think Dak Prescott picks up a ton of MVP momentum. I mean, he's playing real well. I don't think he's there yet, but like if the Cowboys come out and like I think we both expect this game to be a shootout and Dak outplays Russ, who we both picked to win MVP. How could you not talk about him as a candidate?
I mean, fair, but
400 yards and 4 touchdowns last week.
It's got to be. I mean,
early 3 weeks. It's not like these are like the hard set in stone candidates, but like how could you not start talking about him as an MVP?
I mean, there's a reason Russell Wilson moved into as a betting favorite for MVP, right? I mean, you got to think about what outplaying it is. Like, does Dak Prescott, rush for 2 touchdowns and score 3, and does Russ only score 4 touchdowns? Like, I mean, this is.
I'm not trying to explain like what exactly outplaying him is, but I'm just saying like if Dak outplays Russ, whatever that looks like, whatever. Is he? I can't imagine Dak will run for more yards than Russ, but if Dak just plays better than Russell Wilson, and like this is also coming from a Giants fan who would love nothing more than to see the Cowboys suck this year. I don't know. I think it'd be really hard to not talk about Dak as an MVP candidate if he pulls this one off. Yeah,
no, I mean he had a fantastic, like statistically fantastic game against the Falcons, and even when they were down big in the first half, like it wasn't really his fault. Sunday night football, Packers Saints. Do the Packers blow out the Saints? Like how worried should they be?
Not what do you say the Ben Carlton NFL worry scale? What were we talking about the panic meter? Is that what we called it?
Yeah, the panic meter.
The panic meter. I'm going 6 out of 10 on the Ben Carlton panic meter for the Saints right now.
If they lose or right now?
Right now. You just got beat by the Raiders. Like that's not ideal.
Yeah.
Yes, you're without Mike Thomas.
Buns.
That's more what I'm worried about. Drew Brees does not look good. Like, huge caveat. Obviously, Mike Thomas is not healthy, not playing for at least 3 or 4 more weeks, probably. Do I trust Sean Payton to come up with a good game plan to kind of figure that out? I think, honestly, the Saints kind of hurt themselves by, like, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know, like, how much Mike Thomas was practicing. I don't know how much they were expecting him to play last week. But with that type of high ankle sprain, like, I don't think anyone actually expected Mike Thomas to play last week. I think you give the Saints another week to game plan for how to like incorporate Emmanuel Sanders. Traquan Smith had a pretty solid game. How do you get
Sanders had no catches?
That's what I'm saying. How do you get like you got a game plan to get him like more involved with the offense? It's also his first year with the team still.
Yeah.
If the Saints lose this game with no training camp, exactly that's what I'm saying. Like the Saints had to really have to revamp their offense with no Mike Thomas.
I don't know if I'd put it at a 6 yet. I just, like season-wise, I'd be worried, not just because of the performance, but I'm thinking about like, what if the Saints play a team like the Rams, for example, right? You have a good like D-line that could contain Alvin Kamara as much as possible, and then you have a number one shutdown corner like Jalen Ramsey, or theoretically a shutdown corner. You can like limit.
I think he is.
He got burned in week 1, but you can limit Mike Thomas. Like this Saints team does not look scary anymore.
I was just looking at the Saints schedule, and I'd like to officially amend my my panic meter scale, meter rating. Saints play nobody the next few weeks. I don't know why I thought they had a tougher schedule. They play the Lions, the Chargers, the Panthers, the Bears, and the Bucks the next 5 weeks.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
those are winnable. 3 of those should be wins. Yeah, I'm going to bump it down to a 4.5 actually.
Okay. Last one before we just kind of rip through our best bets and my survivor pool pick, because of course we kind of made a schedule to stay on and we've just blown
past it. Yeah.
But we can't not talk about this game. I mean, it's the game of the week easily, probably the game.
I was going to say game of the season already, week 3.
Chiefs Ravens, like literally lay it on me. Thank you for putting it on Monday Night Football. I'm excited to see what the ratings are for this. I don't know what the NBA schedule.
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess it depends.
But
so this would be on
who. If you're a sports fan, who's not going to watch this? Like this is going to be like the
Rams Chiefs game.
Yeah,
Rams 54-51 game from a couple years ago. I mean,
I'm good with that. Like
start any Chief or Raven you have in fantasy this week. Like that game is going to be a offensive showdown. I'm just like as a fan, can't wait. I'm going to be locked in on that game.
Yeah, I think the Ravens probably look a little better now.
I just think
the Chiefs just went to OT against the Chargers. Like,
I mean, are you really worried about the Chiefs?
No, I'm not worried. But if you're asking me who looks better through 2 weeks, I'm probably like, we kind of put together power rankings. Like we both put the Ravens first. We put the Chiefs third.
Yeah, that is Nolan's the man. Game 6, Lakers Nuggets would be on Monday.
Okay,
would be on
there
Monday.
You go. Yeah, if necessary. Okay. Interesting.
Do you think it will be necessary? One word right
now.
No. Okay. Let's go to the power rankings, best bets, and let's get on to the NBA because, of course, we have blown right through our schedule.
For sure.
I'll take the lead here. My power rankings, 1 through 5, based on a really complex algorithm that I developed last night. I'm going Ravens, Seahawks, Chiefs, Bills, Packers, top 5.
Okay. I went Ravens, so we agreed on the first one. Chiefs 2, Seahawks 3.
So we flipped 2 and 3.
I think either one. I think either one's fair.
You were just saying that you were a little bit more concerned about the Chiefs for having to go to overtime.
I didn't say. No. I did not say I'm more concerned. I said the Ravens have looked better through 2 weeks.
But then you put the Chiefs over the Seahawks.
Yeah, because I still think the Chiefs are a better team than the Seahawks.
Power rankings.
I put the Packers at 4. You put them at 5, and then I put tied Steelers, Bills at 5. I'd probably put
a tie in your power rankings.
Okay, I'll put the Bills at 5 then. I'll put the Bills at 5. So literally, we have basically the same thing, except we switched 2 and 3.
I have the Steelers out.
Yeah. Best bets, survivor pool pick. Ben, what did you pick as some of your best bets?
My hammer lock is the Giants Niners under 40.5. I don't think there are more than 3 touchdowns scored in this game. Seriously,
it's gonna be ugly.
The Giants' offense is abysmal. The Niners are presumably without Jimmy G and Raheem Mostert. I think the Niners will
start at a quarterback for them.
Nick Mullins.
Oh, right, yeah.
Another weird situation where the Niners the whole week have been or not the Niners specifically, but I've been hearing all this noise about Jimmy G trying to play this week. It's like he's got a high ankle sprain. He's not playing.
Yeah,
exactly. Giants Niners, like I said, could very well be like a 10-7, 13-7 type of game. Hammer the under on that one.
I have 2 that I'm confident in. Packers -3 versus the Saints. I think the Packers win this game. I don't know if it's a blowout, but I think they win by at least a touchdown.
More than a field goal, yeah.
And then Bucks -6 against the not the Panthers. I don't remember who they're playing, but I think Tom Brady bounced back. I think the Bucks put up. See, I don't even remember who they're fucking playing against. Oh, that's a bummer.
My other lock would really be Eagles -6 against the Bengals. We talked about this earlier.
If the
Bengals
Broncos, sorry, Bucks Broncos.
Bucks Broncos, okay. Yeah, I'd take Bucks.
Yeah. No Drew Lock, no Sutton.
If the Bengals are within a touchdown in this game, I would take all your money you put on that bet and lost and put it on Joe Burrow for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, NBA.
NBA. I think if you're feeling frisky, if you're feeling frisky, take the Raiders
if you're
plus
feeling,
6.
what was that?
Frisky. Raiders plus
lag
6.
or something. Okay. Let's talk a
NBA
little
time.
NBA.
Ooh, what a game.
Wow, that was just such an interesting game to like break down and read about the next day. Like this morning I was reading over it, like thank you, Mikey. And this stat right at the top of the rundown is beautiful. Like Boston has led for 75% of the minutes through first 3 games.
And they're down 3-1.
And they're down.
And they're not going to win the series. Like
I forget. I had said Heat in 7. What did you have?
I had Celtics in 6/7. I think I had them more specifically in 6.
Top outs, man. Come on.
I had them in like
I had them in like
rankings,
6. Celtics in 6 or 7. Come on.
I had like Celtics in 6 more if I like had to decide one.
I don't think you can talk about last night's game without talking about Boston just blowing the fourth quarter. 7 turnovers in the fourth quarter. That's the game. Like that is literally, it was a 1-point game going into the fourth. That's the game right there.
I mean, it's just like, it's weird, dude, because Brad Stevens is a top 5 coach in the NBA. There's no denying that. We both love him. You know, we talk about how smart.
I don't know. Like, there's not a case to say he's not a top 5. If you could make it top 3.
But
what?
The Celtics are going to lose the series because they can't figure out the Heat 2-3 zone. And, you know, give credit where credit is due. They're not the only team that couldn't figure it out. Like, the Heat are going to go in the finals for a reason. But the Celtics have enough playmakers that can get someone in the middle of the zone and be that zone buster and defeat it. They have enough guys that can play, that make shots and create their own offense. They're a team that should be built to beat the zone, and they're just.
I feel like you're not giving the Heat defense nearly enough credit.
I am.
Like the Heat are playing just tremendous team defense.
I am.
And they've got the pieces to run this zone so well. And we talked about the Raptors being like one of the best half-court defenses in the league, especially in the bubble. Yes, the Celtics should be playing better than this. It's not like these have been like non-competitive games.
No, they have. But the Celtics have also led by double digits in the first 2, you know? Like, I
put a lot more credit on the Heat than I do blame on the Celtics.
I don't know, dude.
With Bam in the middle, with Jimmy Butler, they've just got the defense to – they've like this. It's not like this is a surprise that the Heat defense is playing – I can't even speak. There's no shock that the Heat are playing this well defensively. That's what they've done.
I know it's not a surprise, but if you're looking at Boston versus Miami just from a personnel standing, and you have in the 2 corners either Duncan Robinson and Goran or Goran and Tyler Hero, which we'll talk about later, like, and you have people like Jaylen Brown and then like Gordon Hayward in the corners, or you have Kemba in one of them, like they should be able to exploit that. What I'm saying,
but you're talking about personnel. I'm talking about the Heat being up 3-1 in the series.
Oh, okay, duh. All I'm saying is the Celtics have the personnel to beat that, and they have the playing style and the talent to beat that.
But I feel like I'll give the fact that the Heat are locking them down and are playing, are doing exactly the right things to stop those type of guys.
7 turnovers in the fourth quarter. You give credit to Miami, and then you also just say, like, Celtics, what are you doing? Because you saw, especially.
It's both. It's absolutely both. But I'm saying I feel like you're not giving.
I'm trying to give credit to the Heat. You're not letting me. I'm trying to give credit because they're adjusting well. You saw in the third quarter when they put Gordon Hayward in that middle zone breaker spot and they put Marcus Smart there with the ball in his hands. Like, they played well and they defeated that zone. And then the fourth quarter came around. The Heat made a couple of adjustments. They played a little higher on their back line, and the Celtics just crumbled. Like, you give credit to the Heat because they've played exceptionally well, but the Celtics have just crumbled. I mean, you talk about it. They've led 75% of the time through the first 3 games, and they're down 3 through the first 4 games. They're down 4-1. Like, you can't not look at that and not say the Celtics have, like, they've kind of blown it.
I don't know if I'd say the Celtics have blown it. They certainly haven't played as well as we know they can play. I mean, Jason Tatum had no points in the first half. I mean, he only took like 7 shots, I think, in the first half.
Jason Tatum?
Yeah,
I think he had like 8, and he went 0 for 8. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he only took like 7 or 8 shots. I'd like to see Jason Tatum taking more than 8 shots in a half, whatever it was.
A shot, you know, like,
I still want Jason Tatum taking more shots than 8. I want you. Even if he's missing, are you telling Jason Tatum to stop shooting?
I mean, look. The Celtics also got lucky. Like, the Heat shot like shit in the first half too. They got lucky that it was even that close of a game. Like,
Chris, I understand that he scored 28 in the second half. Imagine if he had scored like 7 in the first half. We're talking about an entirely different game here. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't want to get bogged down on it, but like, I really think you got to give a ton of credit here to Miami's defense. And I also think what you got to remember is like, you don't see a lot of zone. at all in the NBA anymore. Like the Heat are doing something really different than we've seen recently in the NBA. Like you can coach as much as you want, but when you're an NBA player and you've seen nothing but man for the entire season, your entire career practically, like it's a lot easier said than done to just like make the right plays against the zone defense.
Absolutely. But a coach as smart as Brad Stevens and a team that's experienced like the Celtics are, like they have a lot of guys that made it to the Eastern Conference Final. Like they're young, but they've been here before. Like they should know how to beat the zone. And the discouraging thing is that they've shown that they can beat the zone before. That third quarter was fantastic.
And the Heat have shown they can stop them too.
Yeah, I know, but but on offense, like you give what a team, like on offense, you have to take what a team is giving you. And if they're giving you a zone and you have 5 shooters out there, like what better way is there to beat a zone? Like I don't want you to think I'm not giving Miami credit, because they shot like shit last night and they were the better team. They came back, and after Boston roared back in the third quarter and had them figured out, like
thank you, Nolan. Thank you.
They came back and they stifled them.
I still feel like you're just not recognizing that Miami's zone defense, they've played it absolutely perfectly. Like personnel-wise or not, Miami's just got the foot speed and the intelligence and the reps in the half-court zone to stop a great team in the Celtics. Like I'm not sitting here trying to say the Celtics are bad or don't have the personnel to beat a zone, but the Heat zone has just been better. Like the Heat are just playing better.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you that they've played better, but I think that the Celtics have shown those flashes and they should have been able to beat them. I mean,
all right, talk about flashes versus talk about a 3-1 series lead.
Okay, but you're also talking about literally, if you're like Boston should be at least tied in this series, right? Like you think they split one of the first 2 games that they're leading by 15 and 16 points. Like they should have split those first 2 games 1-1. Like this should be a 2-2.
I shoulda, woulda, coulda, bro. Like
Yeah,
I feel like you're looking at this in a vacuum. Like look at the fact that the Heat are up 3-1 in the series and are locking up Boston in the half court and are playing. I forget who said it in the chat here, but like Bam, I think has been the best player in the series.
Yeah. Well, I hope he's okay too, because he hurt.
Well, yeah, that last point there. I mean, that really is the type of thing that could change the series.
Yeah.
If Bam's out, and like if Bam can play, he's playing, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's the type of thing where it's like if Bam's not, literally it's just a wait and see type of thing. Like we're just gonna have to see what Bam looks like in Game 6.
They're playing tomorrow night, so he's got to get good quickly.
Ice up, bro. Well, Steve Smith, ice up, son.
Ice up. I think you take 3 points away from this. It's obviously Miami's 2-3 zone just completely picking apart Boston. It was the Boston turnovers, and then third point starts and ends with Tyler Hero, because as well as Boston had played in the second half, they played a lot better, even though they blew it in the fourth. Like Tyler Hero had 37 points off the bench, right? Like, and he committed 37 points, 36 minutes, no turnovers.
6 and 9 from
one turnover. Excuse me.
Second most points in a playoff game for someone 20 years or younger, behind Magic Johnson. Have you heard of that guy?
No, I never heard of him. Don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Some guy who used to play for the Lakers. I don't know. He was all right. Bro, anytime you're in the same, there is no shame in being second to Magic Johnson in something.
No. Probably one thing there's shame in being second.
I wasn't going to go there personally.
Come on, you brought it up.
I brought it up, but I wasn't going to go there. All right, Nuggets, Lakers.
I'm not ready to move on yet.
We have to. We have an hour.
I'm not ready to move on. I just Tyler Hero.
Oh my god.
What? No,
I try to move the show along, and the team just wants.
You can't. I mean, this guy's 20 years old. And he scored 37 points to basically.
No, I said we have to keep the show running.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, you can deal with it. You can deal with restarting Zoom. You want to do like a 5-minute Instagram live after this?
Last point. I just think that
believe this kid.
What Tyler Hero showed coming out of college was that he's elite at catch and shooting, and the knock on him was that his wingspan was short and that we hadn't seen a lot of him in Kentucky with the ball in his hands running pick and roll. He played flawless basketball yesterday. He was good setting up his teammates, and he was just like, at some point it just comes down to who has the best player on the court in the game, and Tyler Hero was the best player on the court last night.
Ready to move on?
Ready to move on now.
Nuggets, Lakers. I'm glad this wasn't a sweep. I'm so glad this was not a sweep.
We deserve to at least have one more game.
We deserve to at least have one more. And it's like, people need to the Nuggets are legit. Like, there's no discrediting what the Nuggets have done. Come back from 2 3-1 deficits, beat the Clippers, who are everyone's co-title favorites at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you put it yourself. Jamal Murray, I think, has made the biggest leap in the bubble. Mm-hmm. He's gone from, very good guard, who people were saying, he's on a huge contract. Like, is he really that good? to Jamal Murray is a top 5 guard in the league?
Ceiling wise, certainly looks that way. You know, if he can keep it up, that's the thing is that like his usage has been a lot higher. Nikola Jokic is the best player, but who is the most important for that team? I think Jamal Murray makes it a discussion.
He makes it a discussion. I think Jokic is probably still more important. I mean, I don't want to give this away if we still want to do this segment, but that thing on Twitter you sent me about like pick 2 guys that you want to start a team with. Yeah. It was like Ben Simmons, Embiid, Murray, Jokic, like Kat and someone else, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how are you going to pick against Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic? They're in the conference finals and beat the Clippers and Jazz coming back from 3-1. Like, make a case for anyone else on that list.
I mean, Jeremy Grant had a hell of a game too. And you know, in the list that we had made for who's made the biggest jump, or increased their stock, unofficially our list was Murray at 1, Heroes probably / Dragic.
I don't know if you can say / Dragic. Tyler Hero is Dragic. Dragic was an all-star. Like we've seen Dragic be an all-star. We've seen him be good.
He was also coming off the bench all season. You know,
I'm not saying he hasn't played well, but
he's going to be second in terms of.
If you're going to make a list like this, I think you have Jamal Murray by himself, Tyler Hero by himself.
Okay, Hero at 2, Dragic at 3, at 4 probably AD. Fair.
AD and Luka. You put AD and Luka together at 4. You'd say big gap between them. But
I said big gap. Come on.
Dude, how much can AD and Luka Doncic increase their stock?
Well, AD hadn't been to the conference finals. You know, it gets to a certain point.
He played for a dog shit team.
I know.
Nothing to do with Anthony Davis. He played for.
I know, but he's come out. You know, we talked about it in this last episode where he hit that big shot that could be like a legacy defining one or like a legacy altering shot. That's why I think he's just increasing
shot of his career.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm saying AD and Luka shot their stock up. These are 2 of the 7 best players in the league.
I'll ask this: where does the zone kind of making a comeback and, you know, showing itself as a really important part of elite defenses rank in that? Because we're seeing it with Miami in terms of the stock risen the most, because we saw Miami ran the most in the regular season. They didn't run any in the bubble up to now. And now the zone is what has them ahead 3-1 on the Celtics and is what is going to give them the win, right? We've seen the Lakers ran a zone their last game against the Nuggets, and the only part that this game was kind of remotely close in the second half is when the Lakers made that run and they were in the 3-2 zone and they were slowing down the Nuggets offense, and the Lakers really couldn't hit any shot. I think if they could hit their shots at that point, it's a contest. You know, where the zone is always kind of that go-to if they're destroying man, and obviously we saw with Toronto too. Zone is kind of what you go to disrupt man if it's, you know, not working anymore.
Yeah.
You can't go to it all game.
What else would you go to?
Box and 1,
is that not
still a zone? But I'm saying
I'm making fun of you for saying. Go on.
I just think zone has really kind of boost its stock up.
Well, yeah, I mean that's one thing that's always kind of confused me about the NBA is just why you don't see more zone, if for no other reason than just to give teams a different type of look. Every NBA offense today is based around the pick and roll. It's based around hunting mismatches and hunting switches and trying to get your best offensive player isolated against their worst defender. I think these postseason, I'm going to say this postseason and then these playoffs and then flipped them both. Nice. Good job, Ben.
Nice.
This postseason has shown that zone has value in the NBA. If you know how to run it well and if you've got the personnel to run it well, I think we're going to see an increase in zone usage during the regular season. Though Nolan also brought up a great point here. I think there's definitely some merit to not deploying your best defensive looks in the regular season.
No, absolutely. Well, that was a knock on Budenholzer, is that he didn't try things out in the regular season with a really good team. And they were a very good regular season team. But when it came down to it and, you know, Spo had to make adjustments to beat, you know, what was the best team in the regular season, Bud couldn't make anything because you don't want to run something that your team is not used to playing, right? That's why Toronto is so good in so many different defensive alignments, because they do that.
Well, look at the boxing run, the boxing one they used against Golden State in the finals last year. Obviously,
and against Kemba to a certain extent.
Different scenario where it was literally just Steph trying to make things happen by himself with literally a bench unit around him, but it worked.
Yeah, no, it did.
All right. Last point on the Lakers. We only got 10 minutes left in the live. Lakers got to get on the boards. Got out-rebounded by 20 in Game 3. That's inexcusable.
Yeah.
2 rebounds for Anthony Davis?
Yeah.
we're not in the NBA anymore where it's like you got to win the rebounding battle. You got to crash the glass.
You kind of do.
You can't get out rebounded by 20. Like that can't happen.
No. And like that was the thing too, is that, you know, the reason that the guards were able to crash the board so well for Denver is because they are like more aggressive than Rondo and Caruso and, you know, probably KCP. But the thing was that was the game plan for Denver. Kind of put simply was, you know, bring Jokic, and Grant kind of further out from the paint and force AD out there. And AD is such a good, like, versatile, like, wing defender. And he's not someone that's just going to stay in the middle of the zone. So that's why his rebounding numbers were down. But I saw a stat. It was like they rebounded like 40% of their chances, which is way too low. I think
makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
It looks bad. I think the AD thing looks bad, but what looks worse is that I think it was a combined 5 rebounds for Dwight, JaVale, and AD. That was the worst one. I think the Lakers still win in 5, but
I'm still taking Lakers.
They have to adjust.
I'm just glad we got an extra game out of this.
I told you
if we can actually move on here, as I've been trying for the last 5 minutes, but it's fine.
I'm saying, no, we got 10 minutes left. We started at 2:05.
Yeah, I've been trying to move on for the last 5 minutes.
Oh well, yeah, unsuccessful. Sorry, I want to talk about the game.
You were the one who wanted to include half of this stuff in the rundown.
So much beef in our studio today.
Beef in the stew. Check out our Twitter header.
UFC 253. We got a hell of a card. 2 really exciting ones at the top. But I mean, the
fight we're here to talk about, the style bender.
The last
Israel Adesanya, Paulo, right?
Paulo Costa, yeah.
And classic UFC main event fight between the guy who's just got crazy, crazy power and like a much more like technically experienced guy in Adesanya. I mean, some of these numbers, when I've been thinking it was Adesanya for a minute now. And the Usman Masvidal fight was almost a month ago, and literally I've been waiting for this fight since then.
Yeah. Some
of Costa's power numbers are unreal. He's knocked out 85% of his opponents in 13 UFC fights. 11 out of 13 guys have gotten knocked out. He's 13-0. He's got the 8.4 strikes a minute, which is currently the most ever in UFC history. I mean, this dude's power is 100% legit. Like, this is not some, like, random, like, you know, this is not like a Kimbo Slice type of guy who just, like, swings for the fences and, like, if he hits, he hits.
Hey,
like,
put some respect on my boy's name.
Hey, rest in peace, bro. Like, I love Kimbo. But Adesanya's got, like, 100 career fights.
Yeah.
And it's just –
he's more experienced.
And just – he's so fluid. Like, you know that did you watch the Bruce Lee Be Like Water thing?
No, I didn't.
Really worth the watch, but Be Like Water. Adesanya is water, bro. Like, he is so fluid and so just like he's so fluid in his creativity and his striking. And honestly, this is like a huge comparison from a guy who's not by any means like an expert on the UFC. Reminds me of John Jones. When John Jones first came into the ring, into the UFC, and was throwing like spinning back fists and elbows from all types of crazy angles. And then with that like huge reach that Adesanya and Jones both have, Adesanya's got an 8-inch reach advantage over Costa. Like, Adesanya can throw stuff from angles that most guys like can't even fathom.
Well, I think, you know, it's obviously I know you're not trying to compare Adesanya and John Jones. I'm
just like stylistically with the creativity and the fluidity in their striking.
Completely different, like weight class. Like, I think it's hard. But what I look at with Adesanya,
and their fluidity.
Creativity. Yeah. I think Adesanya-wise, like, the reason I like him is, like, we've seen him go up against, like, really powerful strikers. Like, he beat Yoel Romero, and, like, it was a shitty fight. But, like, it was not a good fight, but, like, they went 5 and he beat him decision-wise. And, like, you know, that's someone that he was willing to stand in the octagon with and take punches for. And, like, when he beat Robert Whittaker, like, Robert Whittaker was, like, he was lighting him up a little bit. Like, Israel Adesanya was backpedaling, like, they were starting to say, like, oh, shit, he's going to lose this fight. Then he comes back and he knocks him out in, like, the 3rd round, I think. Like, I think that Adesanya –
I think it went decision. The Romero fight?
No, the Romero one did. The Whittaker one didn't. He knocked out. He knocked out Whittaker. And it's different because you talk about Costa's knockout like numbers. Like, he's knocked out 11 of the last 13, and they're combined
11 of 13. It's not even the last 13. 13 UFC fights. He's knocked out 11 guys.
These 2 guys are really good fighters. They're combined 32-0. I think it's the first time. Is the second time since 2016. I think that we've had a title fight of 2 undefeated guys.
And the exciting thing too is both these guys are looking to stay on their feet. Neither one of these guys ever takes it to the ground. I mean, they've both obviously been to the ground, but neither one of them are looking to take the fight to the ground.
They're
both looking to stand and swing.
That's the thing, though. Costa has no wrestling defense, and Adesanya.
Incorrect, entirely incorrect.
That's his knock.
He's got the second highest takedown defense behind Adesanya in the division.
He's not known for his takedown defense.
He's got the second highest takedown defense in the division behind Adesanya.
The numbers aren't there. The sample size.
What do you mean the numbers aren't there?
The sample size isn't there. Is what I'm saying. It's a lot lower if you look at it.
You're bugging, bro. You're absolutely.
Adesanya literally.
I'm gonna send you literally this article I was reading
before
the rundown earlier. You're gonna eat those words, but
I literally Adesanya has shown he can go to the ground, and he is a lot more.
Go to the ground, but
I know they're not going to try to go to the ground.
To stand and trade, that's what's going to make this fight so interesting. Is both these guys are looking to throw.
I know they're not looking to go to the ground. I just trust him a little more on the ground than I trust Costa. But
last point here.
Yeah.
We'll have Dan Doherty on Monday. If you guys don't know who Dan Doherty is, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
He's a friend of the pod. He's a senior editor at Cage Side Press. Huge MMA fan. Really nice guy. Good friend of ours. So we'll have all the fight reactions. And he's also objectively a lot more informed about the stuff than Matias and I are. So he'll have some really interesting points to contribute here. Last 4 minutes of the show. We need mailbag stuff, guys.
Yeah, you guys suck. We got 2 questions. We got 2 questions.
You got nothing.
All right. We got 2 on the one before.
You had 2 on the one before. Yeah. The mailbag is courtesy of Matias and I. So let's step it up a little bit. Come on.
Cy Young. Did Trevor Bauer win it last night?
I think he did. It's literally I was reading one article that was there are 7 pitchers in the NL that could feasibly have a case for the Cy Young.
It's a 2-man race.
I don't think it's a 2-man race. Bauer and who? DeGrom?
Yeah, Bauer and DeGrom.
I think with the performance last night, I think Bauer took it.
I struck out 12, first pitcher to 100 strikeouts on the season. We can't forget, though, DeGrom's going to pitch in a couple days. And I know we don't use team success anymore, and you don't want to use a schedule to knock
Tell me
someone.
You're not about to bring up Trevor Bauer's record.
No, I'm not. How, as a Mets fan, how would I bring up a pitcher's
Well, you said we don't want to talk about team success. You threw a button there.
I said
Trevor Bauer's 500 and that disqualified.
Well, you didn't listen to what I was going to say because I said we don't talk about team success, but and we don't want to talk about.
That's exactly. I just quoted you.
Can I finish talking?
No.
We don't talk about team. We don't talk about team success for pitchers. What we do not want to talk about, but we have to, is strength of schedule. The fact that the 60% of DeGrom start, or a little higher than that after he faced the Rays, have been teams that are in the top 10 in runs scored. And Trevor Bauer has not faced as many good teams.
I think that's the one thing. Honestly, I think that's the one thing Bauer has, or DeGrom has over Bauer.
Well, if DeGrom strikes out more than 6, he'll finish with he'll finish with more strikeouts. He trails him by, I think, 25 or 30 ERA points. He can catch up to that. He trails him by 15 whip points. If DeGrom goes 7 scoreless and drops his numbers down to basically identical to Bauer, I think DeGrom can still take it.
I think Bauer gets it because of voter fatigue, if that's the case. I don't think people winning 3 straight Cy Youngs is so incredibly rare. And I think if it's it's dead even. It is a very tight race.
No, that is true.
I think Bauer's got the edge narratively. And even if that's not valid or frustrating as a fan, it's true.
Yeah, no, fair.
Narrative does matter. And Bauer had a tremendous final start. He's been, kind of one of the big figures in the season. I got Bauer here.
Minute and a half left. Last wild card spots. I think Toronto has it wrapped up in the AL. Not a good schedule coming down for Seattle. I think Philly versus Miami is going to be the big one. Miami's lost their last 4, I think, and they got to play Atlanta and New York to round it out. And then the Brewers, honestly, lurking right behind them. I think the
Brewers could get it. I would love – the Angels are still alive. And for the sake of baseball, I'd love to see Mike Trout make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think Toronto's going to – they're just too far. Literally everything has to go perfect for the Angels, and Toronto just needs to win. The NL is super interesting. We got 4 teams in the mix for 2 spots. I mean, the Mets are technically alive. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
The Rockies are done, I think.
They're alive technically.
No, but they're basically done.
They're done, yeah. The thing for me is I think it's the Reds and the Phillies. I think the Phillies are going to sweep the Rays. Could very possibly sweep the Rays. Assuming the Rays are resting their starters, resting their studs. And the Yankees have home field to play for against the Marlins, who are playing I think it's the Reds and the Phillies.
No, I agree with you. All right, Second Floor Sports. Somehow we kept it under an hour. Ben, Carlton, Matias Weilmann. If you're watching us on Instagram, thank you. If you're listening to us on YouTube, or watching us on YouTube, or if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, like, subscribe, let us know what you think. We will be back on Monday. We'll have Dan Doherty to break everything down from the UFC card this weekend. Until then, enjoy your weekend games.